Welcome to TradeTheNBI.com. This is John's Reports for the 4th of February. And, well, within this broader short, we had a nice little bounce back of futures. Got it back to the 50%, but we hit that 76% Fibonacci line. And, boy, it got rejected right off of that. Didn't see a bounce back here from a daily standpoint, at least for short-term buyers. It can still happen. We did see a fade, though, of shorts. So shorts were just collecting returns off that. We do see the potential, though, for a crossover from the green over red, but we'd have to see a significant dip of the orange there to justify that as being anything other than a brief blip. And this is often what you'll get, at the beginning of short selling. A lot of people think, okay, it's just a modest thing, and then they try to buy back, but it just rejects and keeps failing, and when we start making lower highs, it doesn't mean that we still aren't going to get the turnaround here. But for now, we don't have it. So that's where we look to the 50K and intraday charts to get the best gauge of that. From a NASDAQ standpoint, you can see it's a little bit stronger because we haven't had the DOC fade as much, so there's been a lot more strength, and you can see that's reflected in stocks like I was talking about, where Tesla and Apple on the Skype chat. You look at those charts, there's no mistaking that pink. It's just like this is all green with just a momentary spot where it started to soften, but only for a few days where it consolidated. And this is very consistent to what I was mentioning back before, the parallels to the 90s, early 90s, when the market was in a similar kind of phase. From a euro standpoint, of course, the euphoria of Brit exit and the stability within the euro, not so much, but central banks definitely providing liquidity, trying to maintain this because they do not want that it scares them when they see that 09 number and below, because the precipice below that. But there is zero activity, and if you continue to see additional cases in Europe, we've got them in France. We don't hear much reporting, but there's several in Italy. There was even a case here in Florence. So, some of this, they do a very good job keeping it quiet, but nonetheless, local media certainly picks it up. And of course, they were tourists just traveling in that kind of situation, but regardless, with the incubation period, this is what I was talking about. And oil's reflected in this case because you've got a huge portion of China is just not doing anything. And there's just zero demand. Well, when that demand falls off and you've got the ability of U.S. to supply the volume that it does, you're going to get some supply disruption here, and that's causing an overflow of volume, and that's going to have ripple effects, not now, but in a few months, because this is a significant blow, and if this extends, then we can be talking about broader implications for deflationary setups. In that, in the interim, it means good deal for people on gas prices, things like that. But there's some caveats. So this really depends on what happens with the coronavirus and its spread. So, and we have gold. It's going to maintain this lofty level, I think, until even if there is certainty, because you still have the Iran situation is, as much as they provoke, Trump isn't going for it, so none of that's happening. Impeachment looks like it's finished, so some of those unknown world event things kind of faded a little bit, but you still have this broader aspect of just massive amounts of liquidity being provided by central banks, and when you create this money, it's eventually going to seep its way into things, and that is going to lead to inflationary pressures. And not everybody who's investing in gold is looking for a short-term play. They could be buying this for years, and in some cases, central governments which are buying it just to alleviate dollar dependence. So there's a whole lot of different factors going on in there, but end result is the same. So we had the pre-market, and then we were showing it on there because we all saw that massive rise up going. We hit boom, and then guess what? We went right up to this previous algo level of 65. Isn't it amazing how many times we sit here and talk about this, and we reach just to the levels that we've marked out that really don't have any. 65 and 3/4. How much did it go past it? It floated just a fraction above that to 67 1/4. So literally a point and a quarter, over, or half, and then boom, clean DOC spread actually took place right before it, right at the peak of it with the open of the bar. If you just waited for it to continue before you got the BK, fine, whatever. Either way, it was still clean. You did have the reset, so I was concerned that, okay, maybe we'll get a little bit of a fill back, but we had some positive extremes coming all the way back, to this previous level right here, slightly below actually, and filled them beautifully. It's the magic. It's not even magic. It's just the way these algorithms work. And we're seeing it so clearly at times. The orange, decent buy setup, but no steel reset, so it's going to be short-lived. So I was looking for these kind of breakdowns. This was the start of it, happened right here. That was a potential one. I was a little suspect with the rising yellow in that, so I was like, okay, we'll wait a little bit on this one. And sure enough, that was the second one. I was like, yeah, I'm happy with that. And then that one broke down a little bit, but it kind of just consolidated. But we did make it down to the other previous algo level at 44, which then perked back up there. Was not excited about any of that from a long standpoint. Just did not produce any of the strong, breakdown maneuver like this. It's why these turned and some of these don't, because it just isn't represented. And sure enough, we had the DOC spread, and we went all the way back down to the exact same spot. I just think it's beautiful action. So very pleased with that. Hope you guys enjoyed that day. That was fun. And we still finished up plus 20 some points. But it was a nice short from up there. I was happy with that one as well. So as always, though, I will update what I can on Skype chat, and whenever there's interesting things. I know we were talking a couple little stock questions in that, so I was putting those up because I was working on a program for a potential screener that you'd be able to use generically, and anyone can create these, because now I've given you all the functions, so you guys have the function for every single line that's on all of our charts. So anyone who wants to play with the easy language can just add those functions in and create the programs, which just gives you the flexibility of whatever you desire to look at. It's one of the things I like, giving people the option to adjust time frames, ranges, everything, and it just gives you the complete functionality. You've seen what I prefer and what I like to look at. Between this, the 50K and daily, for me, it's more than enough for the broader market. But everyone's got their own preference, and that's the beauty of it. You can do as you please, and we have the tools that allow us to do it across markets and across all different types of commodities as well. So as always, trade well, though, and we'll talk again later.